Now, what I do want to do is to try and make this not like someone going through holiday photographs. So do please go onto the chat if you have questions. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to answer everything, but what I will do is get the questions. And if people are interested in a particular aspect of the renovation, I'll go and find out. If they're interested in particular materials, I will go and find out. So just to kind of give some additional feedback after this evening. So, as we're saying here, this is a view through one of the the upper floor windows of the courtyard. But it is to say thank you to the friends of St. Peter's for asking me to come along and show you these photographs, and to the Church's Conservation Trust, who invited me along in the first place. They needed to have a volunteer photographer to just see the work as it was going on, to have an historical record of this progress. I live in the town. While I'm not a Northamptonian, I think I've lived in Northampton more than I have anywhere else. So I was extremely proud to be able to take on that role of being the volunteer photographer. Started taking photographs in late May, and the first duties that I had, as it were, there was a series of public tours, and some of you may have gone on one of those tours, and particularly when there was the excavations. Those tours were presented, as you can see there, the chap in the orange high vis, Derek Roberts of Pre-Develop Archaeology. And as I was just sort of saying, I don't have a vast knowledge of this site. You can see it there. What I've learned is really pretty much through osmosis, through listening to Nick from Church's Conservation Trust when he's been leading tours, listening to the various friends of St. Peter's when they've been talking to visitors, and of course listening to Jean, whose knowledge is, well, quite incredible, encyclopedic. But what I know is very little. It's been learned through osmosis, but this is what I was saying, that if you've got particular questions, put them into the chat. If they can be answered this evening, that's great. But if it's something that I need to go and find out more information about on the site, then I will do just precisely that and feed it back to you all through the Friends of St. Peter's page. So what I'm going to do first off is just kind of give you a compendium of photographs, just to kind of give you a broad view. And then I'm going to go into some further detail afterwards. If you were walking along Mayfair, the top left-hand corner is really what you'd see. It'd be behind hoardings where windows masonry is being repointed and such like. Because I can go anywhere I need to, I do speak to the people on site. Is it okay if and invariably the answer is yes. So I go up onto the top of the scaffolding so I get these bird's eye views of the courtyard, as well as down on the bottom right. It's just on a working day. On the left, and we'll come back to this in a little while, this is along the eastern wall of the Old Black Lion as it backs on to the churchyard of St. Peter's. Keep that picture in your mind, and I shall show you more later. Again, views of the courtyard taken from where the roof is being done. The two characters in high photographs elsewhere right-hand came back, and one is the architect of this project, and with her, you're taking measurements. They were doing every single thing so detailed, but then she was explaining that as the work progresses, the interior dimensions of the room are changing all the time, so they have to be absolutely precise. So when it comes to the fit out stage, but that's what they were doing there on that day. This is just a really quick look. Again, bottom right-hand corner was the architect and assistant. Anybody that had been to the Black Lion may be familiar with those stairs. I remember trudging up those stairs with my son to go and see Martin Carthy play them many years ago now. And on the bottom left, you can see where that staircase once was. The top left, you can see the state of some of the joists that have been uncovered. There was mention made about, when will the work on the Black Lion be completed? Not just the work that Midland Renovation are doing, but also the fit out. And I've said a couple of times this week, it's like when you go to do a job at home, and you kind of think you've got one job, and then you make a start on it, and it turns into 4 and 5 jobs. And it seems, from what I've seen, this is very much what's happening in the old Black Lion. When the old floors were lifted, you can see on the top left-hand corner how deteriorated those joists are. They're perhaps a third or a quarter of their size, and in very, very poor condition. Windows, we'll talk later about the windows, but it just kind of gives you a quick look. As much of the fabric as possible is being maintained, where joists, as you can see there on the top right, are in good nick. Well, then fine. But then again, you see on the bottom right-hand picture, the state where that's frankly nothing but powder. It's been quite astonishing to kind of witness it and to see it and to take photographs of it. Again, on the top right, those joists where you can see just how, well, fragile really they're looking. And in the bottom left-hand corner, that is, so the top right-hand corner, the picture there with the joists, that's the same room as in the bottom left. And I'll talk about that steel work that's been put in to brace that wall, and I'll explain more about that in a little while. As I say, this is just kind of giving you a whistle-stop tour through the Black Line, and then I'll go into some more detail. We did have Professor Alice Roberts of the BBC's Digging for Britain visit, and I turned up because I knew it was at the stage when the work on the trenches was being completed. I was going in so that and I could go into the trenches and take some photographs from a low level, and it happened to be the day that the BBC arrived. So it was quite nice. I said, look, is it okay? This is what I was going to do. And they said, well, if you don't mind being in the background, as long as you don't, look at the camera and wave hello, mum, then I could just sort of carry on. That's really what I did. So the Digging for Britain for the Old Black Line, believe it's in January or February. But when the announcements come onto the BBC websites or the Digging for Britain pages, you'll be able to sort of see that. And Professor Roberts and her team were keen to go and have a look in St. Peter's as well. So I was able to go and get the keys so that they could go in, have a look. And this is the entry into the visitor's book from Professor Roberts. Came to film the Black Line excavations for Digging for Britain Series 2, but what a gem of a church. Gorgeous Norman architecture. So a couple of more pictures from that Digging for Britain visit. So looking at some of the detail, I mentioned the picture on the left there. You're just going to see earth up against the wall, and you kind of think, well, okay, that seems quite unremarkable. But then you look at the picture on the right. Now, the lower level of that window is about waist height when you're inside of the building. So you can see the level of the earth that is backed up against the eastern wall of the old Black Line, and obviously from damp and any other number of reasons, that is problematic. One of the things that it caused on the right-hand picture, you'll see the bowing
Let's see
on.
what it's about. Let's see what it's about. Is it finished? I'm afraid. Well, I'm afraid no.
You can see the bowing of the wall in the right-hand picture, and that is why the props have been put in. Steel has been installed so that wall can be stabilized. On the left-hand side, you can see where, I was sort of saying about they go to do one job and then sort of find 4 or 5 other jobs, but you can see how many repairs have been done to that particular wall over the years. And though I'm not a builder, I would hasten to sort of say probably not very well, and probably been done quite cheaply. But what Midland Renovation are doing is putting it right properly. So this is the steelwork. So going up onto the scaffolding outside that eastern wall, this is the steelwork that's gone in. And on the right-hand side, you can see now that wall has lost its curvature. The degradation of the joists, you saw some of these pictures earlier on, but there's a closer view of them. You can see where they've been eaten away on the picture on the left-hand side. If you look at the ends of the joist going into the wall, you can see it's just a fraction of the size that they were originally. Which makes you wonder that when anybody was looking at that building, when they were walking around on the floors, perilous is the word that immediately sort of springs to mind. And the picture on the right is just sort of a bit of a close-up of that joist that's just kind of basically gone to dust. But this is that same area now, where new joists have been put in. You can see the wall on the right-hand picture. That is the wall that was bowed. It is now sort of perpendicular, with and the props have now been taken out. But you can see the standard and the strength of the floors and the joists that have been put in since. With the window frames, a lot of effort is being made to keep as much of the original fabric as possible, not just on the window frames. I don't think I've got pictures in this presentation, but there was one area on the ground floor, and it's just a pile of stone. But what that is where stone has been reclaimed elsewhere in the building as work has progressed. That will go there, and then if someone needs to repair a window or repair a wall, they will go there, so that nothing is being thrown away unless it really is of no further use at all. So with the window frames, where wood has deteriorated, has rotten, that is being cut out, but new wood is being put in. So as much of the frames as possible is being kept. But the picture on the left-hand side, you can see, well, you can see a lintel, you can see a wooden lintel that looks well chewed, frankly, insect damage, but multiple repairs. But it's just kind of giving you an indication of what Midland Renovation are having to deal with when they come to an area and they're going to do the repointing. Then they're looking at those window frames, and they must be sort of saying, oh my goodness. So this is a window frame where, as I've just explained, rotten wood has been cut out, new wood has been put in, and particularly that picture on the left-hand side. When I first saw that, I just ran my hand up, and if you closed your eyes, you couldn't tell where the new wood ended and the old wood began. It's very, very neat job. The picture on the right is on the elevation of the old Black Lion on the Mayfair side. So this is where new lintels have been put in. The masonry has been repointed, not completely, as you can see between the two windows. There's still some repointing to be done, but you can see above the lintel, new lintels have gone in and repointing. And if we look at on the right-hand picture, just behind the prop, you can see one of the original windows, which you can now see on the left-hand side. So again, original features, where possible or where they can be restored, are being kept, and that's left in situ. And on the right, you've got masonry where I don't know. I cannot imagine what happened to that arch, but anyway, you can see how the renovators have resolved that window. This was an interesting conversation because I was taking photographs of the windows, as we see on the right, and it's very clear that new sash cords were being put in, new hardware going into the top of the sash windows here. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving around, but you can see it. So new sash cords. And I noticed the sash weights on the side, and I mentioned to one of the gentlemen there, I said, I sort of see how much is being retained, reused, keeping the original stuff, even though it's things that wouldn't be seen. And he sort of said, yes, and we rebalanced the sash weights, and I looked quizzically, and he explained that with old glass, because it was very expensive, old glass was very thin. So consequently, it doesn't weigh as much as modern glass. So when the sash windows are being repaired and reglazed, because a lot of them were broken, so where they're being repaired, reglazed, then the sash cords, the sash weights rather, have to be rebalanced, because the sash window now weighs more than it did when the original sash weights on the left went in. And as soon as that was explained, it was like, well, I guess, of course, but it was a little detail that just kind of amused me anyway. There was mention of the chimney. Jean mentioned the chimney. Looking at some of the masonry, the picture on the left was one of the early ones that I took when I went up onto the scaffolding. And looking at that chimney stack, I thought, well, okay, that doesn't look too bad at all. But clearly there was scaffolding there. So somebody who knows an awful lot more than I do, which isn't hard, had reason to do that. On the right, that is what that chimney stack is looking like this week. In the center, you can see a white area. There's that sort of expanding foam in there. There's been multiple repairs. It frankly is just very, very messy. You can see one of the original timbers just above the line of the brickwork in the center of the picture on the right hand side, one of the original beams going across, but frankly is really quite a mess. And this is that same chimney breast inside. You can see where it's blackened, and the line that goes up on the right hand picture, the line of the chimney going up in the center, and then it kind of doglegs over to the right and upwards, but you see the state of the masonry behind that. So when there are comments, understandable comments, where people are sort of saying, well, it was projected to end at a particular time, and that seems to be increasing. Again, is this thing about, they go to look at one job and then they see the state of what has been left. And perhaps, it's not surprising. It's the 16th century in. So over the centuries, all manner of things will have been done to varying standards and probably as cheaply as possible, because when it was running as a pub, that people wanted to do things as cheaply as possible. What's been done now is getting it put right. So again, that's a little bit closer on that chimney, but you can sort of see the state of that masonry. So obviously Midland renovators have got to get that absolutely right. You can see steel work going in, again, supporting walls and supporting the roof. This is another example where an area, now this is upstairs near to where there's going to be an apartment. And frankly, a wall has been filled in with goodness knows what. There's plaster in there, there's bricks. It's a mess. It's a mess. But these are the things that are being uncovered. With the roof repairs, and before I go on about the roof repairs, as I was saying earlier, that if you have particular questions, do put those questions into chat, and if it's something that I need to ask on my subsequent visits to the Old Black Line, I'll be absolutely delighted to find that out for you and to feed it back. But going up onto the roof, you can see on the picture on the left, there's, well, shall we say, there's an assortment of ridge tiles there, and not terribly level, which is an understatement. So you can see that is before the work started to take place. On the, sorry, my fault. On the right, that's that area by the chimney where steel has been put in to support the roof timbers. As you can see on the left-hand picture where there's that dip, the steel work will be going in to better support that roof and make sure that it is level. And this is the picture on the right was taken mid-late summer, but on the left, that's how it is pretty much right now, where you see that roof line is looking like a roof line should, absolutely level. And the work that's taking place now is really about getting the building watertight as winter's approaching. On the left-hand picture, the far left-hand side, when I was at the Old Black Lion on Monday, that plastic was down and there was work taking place there as well. On the right-hand side, it's showing where the roofers were taking slates off. On the left-hand side, where there were slates that could be reused, they were being stacked, and if they were beyond any kind of use, then they would go into waste. But this was when the roof was being stripped down. Keeping the original features, I've already mentioned these about the windows, where the sash windows, new hardware has been put in, new sash cords being put in, and obviously, so where reglazing needs to take place, that is being done. On the right-hand side, these are original doors that have already been had paint stripped and prepared. Clearly that would need to be reglazed as well. This glass with the original etching of OBL, that's actually sort of still in a window frame, and it's lovely to see that original etched glass. The question that immediately springs to my mind is, how strong is that glass? Where is that glass going to be? Where is it going to go? Is it going to be somewhere where it's there's less likelihood of any kind of accidental breakage? I don't know, but it's lovely to see those original features of the OBL. And that masonry on the right-hand side, I think that was a toilet in previous times. But it's now going to be a store area, but it's where that has been repointed, and just the quality of the work that's being done. It was a coaching inn. The Old Black Lion was a coaching inn. So these are some of the stable doors. On the left, you can see the door as it was found by Midland renovators. A very poor state indeed, as you can see. On the right-hand side is a door that has been stripped. You can see where there was iron strapping at the back, but you can see where new wood has been put in various places on the top left-hand corner, and then below that there's a square being put in. So, as you know, if it's been damaged, if it's rotten, it's been cut out. But when it's been repaired to a very, very high standard. How that barn door will be finished, I don't know for sure. But it sort of shows you the work that is taking place to conserve the original features. Again, harking back to the days when this was a coaching inn, on the left-hand side, these are some of the rings that horses would have been tethered to. This is on the ground floor in an area near to where ultimately there will be a stairwell and a lift to take visitors to the Old Black Lion up onto the first floor. But those rings have remained, as have similar rings that are out in the courtyard for the tethering of horses in days gone by. And this is one that I sign in and out of the site, as might be expected. It is a building site. Safety is paramount. So if I go on, it's a hard hat, it's high vis, it's toe-tech boots. So I have to sign in and sign out. And when I was signing out, someone had found this and brought it up, an old lamp, clearly brass, and that will be renovated. Where it's going to go, I don't know. I can sort of see raw plugs on there. I wouldn't have thought that was gas. I would imagine it was an electrical lamp. But I didn't have time and I didn't poke around because I was in that area by myself, and I wasn't going to start sort of poking my nose without permission. But again, it's another one of the original features of the Old Black Lion that is being retained. Let me take a sip of water. I mentioned that I started taking photographs for the Church's Conservation Trust at the end of May when there were public tours. And it's just great that people have had the opportunity to go onto the site and see the work progressing. This is in the very early stages. As I say, these were taken in May when the archaeologists were digging. I can't tell you that there were the most incredible finds discovered. No treasure was dug up or anything of that order, but we could see the activity that was taking place on the site in times gone by. So that's Derek Roberts, who was the lead archaeologist. On the right, I think a lot of you may be very familiar, but if you're not, where you can see on the right-hand picture, you can see sort of white, what looks like bits of paper in different levels. This is where artifacts have been found. So if something is found, it's bagged, it's given a reference that's also on that. And then there's a GPS reference taken. So anything that is found is recorded, and they know exactly where it was found and at what level, which clearly helps with dating. And there were also the Heritage Open Days, which took place recently. In the left-hand picture, that's Hannah, who's the project manager over this over the Old Black Line and St. Peter's project, and members of the public coming in. On Hannah's left is, I was going to say Scott. It's not Scott, it's Jason, and he's the boss at MCL, who came to talk to people as well. And on the right, there's Nick from Churches Conservation Trust, addressing another group of visitors during the Heritage Open Days. At this point, it wasn't possible. The archaeological trenches had since been covered up, but these visitors were able to go into the building, which the earlier tours weren't able to do. There'd also been a visit from RIBA, the Royal Institute of British Architects, and there was a group, Women in Architecture, and these architects visited, as we can see there, Jason in the black hat, who's the I think it's the managing director actually of MCL, was addressing these architects, and that was it. It was really fascinating for me because the architects were asking very specific questions. Why are you using this and not that? What are you doing to, kind of counteract different conditions, weather conditions and what have you? They were kind of going into sort of all manner of detail, but it was fascinating to hear Jason being quizzed and the answers that he was giving them, and the interaction between these two groups of experts. Really, it was that was a fascinating day. And another aspect of community engagement, Northampton College. They've been down there once already. They popped down on Monday, but weren't able to get onto site, but they will be going back next Monday. These are students who are doing their carpentry course. So that's it's kind of like another aspect of community engagement. Yes, members of the public being able to go in, see the excavations, be able to go in, listen to the experts from the conservators and from the renovators to see the building as it's being done, as it's being improved. But it's also giving young people from Northampton or who are studying in Northampton the opportunity to go and experience this incredible project, but also to learn from people who are really at the top of their game. So those are the images from me. I must say thank you to Midland Conservation because, as I say, they've allowed me access wherever I want to go. Out of courtesy, I will always say to them, can I go here? Can I go there? There was work taking place at one day, and I just looked in and they said, not today, mate, not today. Because it was a job where a lot of hands had to get into a fairly small area. They really didn't need an extra person. So while I think it would have made for some great pictures, it was not safe for me or for them for me to be there. But they've given me access to wherever I need to go, and thank you to them for that. And to the Churches Conservation Trust for asking me along. And it has to be said, the renovation would not be possible without the collaboration of the National Lottery, the Architectural Heritage Fund, West Northamptonshire Council, and the Churches Conservation Trust. I mean, it's already been said that the work that's taking place with the Old Black Lion, when that's in operation, when that's operating as a commercial enterprise, that is going to support the work and upkeep and future of St. Peter's as well. And it's important for the town, and it's exciting to be a part of that. And images by me. So yes, if anybody has happened, if anybody is needing images, or they just need to contact me, and they can do that through the friends, or they can look me up on Facebook and drop me a line. But otherwise, I hope that you've enjoyed the pictures. But as I say, if there are any that you would like to use for your own enterprises, then do have a word with me.